Audio class. The introduction from the fundamental unit of life. What is up, guys? I am Amoghvarsh Nesari, and in this video we're going to be discussing about the chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life, and its introduction to the video. So in 1665 Mr. Robert Hooke saw the cock resembled the structure of a honeycomb consisting of many little compartments. So what does it mean? And we all know that Mr. Robert Hooke discovered the cell in 1665, but we are unknown to the thing that he just discovered the honeycomb structure, not the complete cell and all the cell organelles, cytoplasm and many things. So he just discovered honeycomb structure and he gave a name called cell because it was looking like a small room, and in Latin small rooms are called cells. So he just gave the name cell. So moving forward, let's learn about what did happen to the cell, which was just like looking like a little room. How did they form, how did they discover the nucleus? How did they discover all the cell organelles and many things? So first thing, in 1674, primitive microscope. Okay, so like in 1665 he discovered cell through the primitive microscope, but Leeuwenhoek in 1674 with the improved microscope, okay, he discovered the free living cells in a pond water for the first time. And it was Robert Brown in 1831 who discovered the nucleus in the cell. So you can notice here that Robert Hooke just discovered a honeycomb structure. Like the people like Robert Brown or Leeuwenhoek just go on like discovering the cells and nucleus inside, and even Purkinje in 1839 coined the term protoplasm, and we all have studied about the protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. So the cell theory that all plants and animals are composed of cells, and that cell is basic unit of life, was presented by Schleiden and Schwann. Theodor Schleiden, and something was written in the book of 8th grade. We have studied that. So what does a cell theory tells us about? So actually cell theory has 5 points, and here we have the first point, that all the cells arises from their pre-existing cells. What does it mean? So all the cells arise from their pre-existing cells. So when we go on studying this topic, we understand, or we have to learn a topic called cell division, where cell divides into 2 parts or 4 parts, and that becomes the pre-existing cell of that 4 cells. So one cell will produce 4. So this happens like with the discovery of electron microscope. So now first Robert Hooke had primitive microscope, but Leeuwenhoek with improved microscope, he discovered many things. Then now it's the time for the electron microscope. In 1940 it was possible to observe and understand the complex structure of the cell. What does complex structure mean? Try to understand, friends. Complex structure is all those cell organelles, cytoplasm, cell membrane, chromatin, genes and DNA, and now the cell and its various organelles. Okay, so this is the complex structure of the cell, and they found it. So the invention of magnifying glasses and lenses led to the discovery of microscopic world. Microscopic world here demonstrates the organisms that cannot be seen by the naked eyes. So we all know like paramecium, bacteria and many other organisms are unicellular organisms. What do we mean by unicellular? We have studied that unicellular organisms are organisms which have single cell. So I have example with great example which is related to business. So now we will relate this to the retailer shop that I've told in the video. You can just go and read that. So unicellular organism is like a retailer shop which has only one owner or like one person working there, because they provide less service, they provide less products to the people, so there is less work comparatively to the companies or factories. So what happens here is work is less, so employees or the workers in the shop are less. So in multicellular organisms, or I can say in any factory, we have to produce more products. It means that we have to do many works. So if work increases, we have to we should have more workers that they can do more work. So this happens with multicellular organisms also. What multicellular organisms have? They have many cells. Many cells, that means millions and trillions of cells, because multicellular organisms have to go through many and many functions. So if the work is increasing, of course the employees or the workers, like here the cell also increases. So now the shape and size of the cell. So have you ever noticed about the cytoplasm? Cytoplasm plays very important role here. Cytoplasm decides the shape and size of the cell, because it's very important to give the shape and size to the cell, because the size and shape is dependent on its specific function, what they perform, because the shape and size should help it in the function. Like let me give you example of the cell, like red blood cells, that is like spherical, and it is flat and spherical because it has to absorb more and more oxygen. Okay, so now some cells like amoeba have changing shapes. In some cases the cell shape could be more or less fixed and peculiar for particular type of cell. Now we all know that nerve cells have a typical shape, bone cells have different shape, blood cells I've told you, smooth muscle cells are like long and elongated, fat cells we all know, and we all know many other cells like that. But this means that different parts of the human body perform different functions, because their shape and size are related to the specific function they perform. If shape and size differ, of course they have been doing the different functions. So the human body has a heart to pump blood, a stomach to digest food, and a nose to inhale, and like many things, many organs and many organ systems to carry out many and many functions on. Similarly, a division of labor is also seen within a single cell. Yes, within a single cell, which is like very small, and even we have divided it into different parts to perform different functions. So each such cell has got certain specific components within it known as cell organelles. So these cell organelles are very crucial or very important in performing all those functions. So each kind of cell organelle perform a special function, such as making new material in the cell, clearing up the waste material in the cell, and so on. A functions like a cell is able to live and perform all its functions because of these organs. Like you have saw that even in the factories, a division of labor takes place. So one group of people do the work like related to packaging, one people like bring raw materials, one group of people do modification, one group of people do planning for the products, and many works. So the same thing or similarly cell is relative to this thing. How? Let me tell you. So we all know that cell is made up of cell organelles, or there are three parts in cell, that is plasma membrane, or I can say cell membrane. So we have cytoplasm inside that. What does cytoplasm do? I've told you. And we have cell organelles and we have nucleus. and these make protoplasm. So now plasma membrane, or I can say cell membrane, is also known as selectively permeable membrane because this is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the contents of the cell from its external environment, and it plays a role like doors of your home. Your doors are like take inside and put outside many things, and they even take persons like people inside and outside also. So they also prevent some people to come inside, like thieves and many people whom you don't want to come inside. So the plasma membrane allows and permits the entry and exit of some materials in and out of the cell. So it also prevents movement of the some other materials. So therefore it is called as selectively permeable membrane. So another concept comes here is like osmosis or diffusion, I can say. So some substance like carbon dioxide, or I can say oxygen, these should move across the cell membrane by the process of diffusion. So we have studied that diffusion is spontaneous movement of substances, they mix. But here the diffusion is a process from high concentration to a region where it's low concentration. So similarly, let me explain you a process of carbon dioxide, diffusion of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, when accumulates inside the cell and forms high concentration inside the cell, so in the external environment of the cell, the concentration of carbon dioxide decreases, but the concentration of oxygen increases outside the cell but decreases inside the cell. And to reach its equilibrium, what cell does, or the selectively permeable membrane, that is cell membrane, does, it takes oxygen inside and puts the carbon dioxide outside until the equilibrium is reached. What is equilibrium? That means that both the oxygen and carbon dioxide should be in same concentration. They should be they should not be more concentrated nor be less. So diffusion plays very important role in gaseous exchange between the cells as well as the cell and its external environment. So between cells or external environment, water also obeys the laws of diffusion, and thus the movement of water molecules through such selectively permeable membrane, and the movement of water molecules through such selectively permeable membrane is called osmosis. Yes friends, osmosis is the passage of water from a region of high water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane to a region of low concentration till equilibrium is reached. So now we have actually three types of solutions through while performing this osmosis. We come through three types of solutions. The first one is hypotonic, the second one is isotonic, and the third one is hypertonic. Not the tonic which you drink while you are ill. Okay, this is not that tonic, but this is hypotonic. So what happens in the hypotonic solution is, if the medium surrounding or the external environment of the cell is higher water concentration. Higher water concentration means more water. Okay, but meaning that outside solution is very dilute. So it's very confusing. First they tell that water is concentrated, then they tell that it is very dilute. Not like that. In the first statement they said us that medium surrounding of the cell has higher water concentration. That means that water concentration is more, but the external surrounding is very dilute. Dilute means more. So solution is dilute but the water is concentrated. And what happens here when a cell has its external environment as so hypotonic solution, it is likely to be swelling up. It swells up. But in the isotonic, what happens? Before talking up to isotonic, I'll say you that hypotonic is vice versa of hypertonic. Medium surrounding will be water will be low concentrated or dilute, but the concentration of water will be more inside the cell, so it will shrink, like it will fold down. And now in the isotonic, both will be same, so water crosses in the both side. So osmosis is a special case of diffusion through a selectively permeable membrane. We all know this. And the plasma membrane is flexible and is made up of organic molecules called lipids and proteins. Plasma membrane is flexible. Like have you ever played with slime or like clay, which is like when you take it into your hand, it falls down through the holes of your hands, like gap you have in your hands, fingers. So the same thing happens with this cell. Like whenever you throw something on like with your slime, it sticks inside and it takes inside the slime. So cell is very flexible and engulf anything. What does it mean by engulf? Engulf is like when you're eating, you're engulfing it, you're taking inside. Okay, so cell membrane is very flexible, so you can engulf food inside and other materials from its external environment. So this engulfing process is known as endocytosis. And in the next video we will be learning about, I'm very sorry, in the next audio class we will be learning about cell wall and also about nucleus and many things. So please subscribe my channel, share this, like this, and comment.